I wish you'd all given us topics and that would have made it much easier. So I spent a week deciding on what to speak on, or whether it should be anything to do with my research or anything else. So finally, I did think of a topic 2 or 3 days ago. So this is what it could be, how to be different. So a lot of times we have seen examples of great people in history and in our contemporary times as well as in our daily lives in terms of people who have been different in the way they have gone about being themselves and inspiring people. So throughout history, we've had great examples of great men and women who have inspired generations to come. And all of these people have been different from a lot of their contemporaries. And currently I'm reading a book called The Outliers, The Story of Success. And here Malcolm Gladwell talks about how and why people become successful. And he talks about the idea of if you want to learn about why a person was successful, we need to look beyond the individual. And the right question to ask then would be where this person was from, who are these person's friends, how did this person grow up. And a lot of times the adversity that a person goes through is actually a key factor in making a person succeed in unique ways. So he talks about the idea of knowing the culture and the town that the person grew up in. And he also talks about the idea of the 10,000 hour rule. And he says that any person who has done anything great, if you look at Steve Jobs or Bill Gates or Bill Joy, by the time they started writing the first big program, they had already spent 10,000 hours of their time programming or spending time with computers. By the time Beethoven and Mozart created their first big symphony, they had spent 10,000 hours. And that roughly equates to about 10 hours of your time if you work around 8 to 10 hours a day. So that was one thing to think of, that there are no shortcuts to success. But then I thought I will not talk about how to be different. So then I decided to speak on how to be similar. The idea of how to take your ego, the big ego with a crown on it, to make it wilt and to let it become a small I, and finally moving from being to someone to being no one and to being everyone. How to get to a stage where we are able to kill our ego and be able to identify with every single person on this earth. So for each person that we see, meet, talk to, and work with, to think about whether we want to be divided by our differences or united by our similarities and common goals. The differences that we see are often only on the outside, on the surface, on the way we look, on the way we talk, or the way we dress up. But deep within, we are the same. We have the same desires for love, for respect, for dignity, and for acceptance, to fit in. So we might be different in the way we look, speak, and dress up, or even in the way we think, feel, and react to situations. But we all feel the pain when someone pinches us, and we all have the same red blood flowing in our veins and arteries. Remember, if your heart is fully opened, you cannot find fault with anyone, because you will always see everyone as a part of yourself. So how to practice this idea of sameness in your workplace? So when you're being interviewed, imagine that you're talking to your closest friend. At this point in time, take a moment to think of the one person who is the most important to you and most dear to you in your life. And when you're being interviewed, imagine that the person interviewing is this one person, and you're talking to this person, or any family member that you really love. You'll feel confident and be able to connect. When you're presenting before an audience, imagine that you're talking to your closest friends. and family. Make eye contact and feel a deep connection with each member of the audience. You'll be able to connect. Praise publicly, and if you have to criticize, criticize in private, and criticize constructively. Remember that it is in our selfish interest to be selfless. Because when we help people, we always find people around us who are willing to help us. So it always comes back. And if we try to be selfish, we find that life is much more difficult than what it actually is. So if someone says something insensitive, imagine that it is your closest friend or family member saying the same thing. And understand and forgive the person the way we forgive and understand the imperfections of our closest friends and loved ones. If someone says something insensitive, and even if you are affected for a while, for a moment, observe yourself and practice awareness that you are being affected. Make sure that you don't snap back. This is the most important thing. Don't snap back. Don't speak back in the same language in which you might have received at that moment. That way, only one person needs to work on forgiveness and not both. And it's much easier in the long run. Remember, words are just words. A lot of times we elevate words to give them a lot more importance than we need to. They are merely words, pieces of information, nothing more. We do more harm to ourselves by dwelling on the words than the words themselves. Observe, just observe. Don't infer and reach conclusions. Something is, just is. Not good, not bad, just is. Someone is, just is. Not good, not bad, just is. So observe and stop here. When something happens, don't step down into drawing the huge range of inferences with all possible reasons behind it. Just observe things for what they are, and let's not try and jump to conclusions beyond that. So the secret to being different is the art of being yourself, and accepting and celebrating the differences in the way we look, speak, and dress up, and in the way we think, feel, and react to situations, which is the secret to being the same. In the sense that we all are all very different outside, but the same inside. As Eva Peron said, "I'm only a sparrow amongst a great flock of sparrows." Remember, each one of these men and women, these great men and women, is beautiful, and so are you. Thank you.